NFL free agency is heating up. We've seen top players like Jalen Johnson and Mike Evans re-sign with their teams, and we've seen star players get cut like Justin Simmons and Jordan Poyer. So let's go ahead and predict where the top players in free agency right now sign. The top player in free agency is Chris Jones, and he will get a lot of interest from many other teams, but I think he's going to head back to Kansas City. I think he's going to be very loyal to them. At the same time, he's still going to want to get his money. And I think the Chiefs are also really wanting to have Chris Jones back. There's going to be big mutual interest between both sides, and I think a long-term deal does get done. And I think that would be huge for the Chiefs because Chris Jones is arguably the most valuable defensive player in the NFL right now, and I think that would make a ton of sense. The top quarterback in free agency is Kirk Cousins, and I also think he heads back to his original team, and that is the Minnesota Vikings. He's projected around $40 million for maybe 2 to 3 years, and obviously there would be some other things go on into it if the Vikings want to out in that deal, but it just makes too much sense for Kirk Cousins to go back to Minnesota. The Vikings are a win-now team, and they were looking very good offensively when Kirk Cousins was healthy and before the Justin Jefferson injury, or even a little after the Justin Jefferson injury as well. Jordan Addison had incredible games, and the offense was heating up. Then Kirk Cousins got injured, and then the defense started heating up more, and I think you get an offseason with everybody healthy, right? You get a better defense to start out this year, and this team could be what we wanted to see from them this year and what we kind of saw from them 2 years ago. The Broncos cutting Justin Simmons was the big surprise of the offseason so far, and I think he has a few suitors for his next team. I think Green Bay will be in play as they definitely need a safety and would be huge for their defense. Philadelphia could use some secondary help as well, and many other teams. I think the whole NFL pretty much should be going after Justin Simmons, other than a few teams who have solidified all-pro type of safeties. But I think he's going to go to Washington. Now, that might be crazy, and that might be a little biased, but Dan Quinn loves DBs who can get turnovers. Justin Simmons can get turnovers. He had 30 in the past few years, which leads all secondary players, all DBs, everybody interceptions. So that's another thing. He knows how to get to the ball. The team needs safety. They let go of Cam Curl, so that definitely fits. And the Commanders have the money too. They truly do. And I think that would be a huge signing for them. I think Justin Simmons would fit with the Commanders and would be a great signing. As we get farther into the video, you may disagree with all of my predictions, and that is fine. Comment down below where you think these top players are going to go ahead and sign, and for more NFL offseason videos, go ahead and subscribe. Christian Wilkins is another top interior defensive lineman in free agency, and I don't know if he's going back to Miami. He could, and that is on the table, but I think other teams like Detroit could make a move. Other teams like the New York Giants and pair him up with Dexter Lawrence would be an incredible tandem, and then maybe Cincinnati if they don't re-sign DJ Reader, and there's many other teams that will want Christian Wilkins, do not get me wrong. But out of the teams I named, I think he's going to go to the Detroit Lions. I think the Detroit Lions have the money. They're going to be making aggressive moves so they can hopefully get back to the Super Bowl. Like Dan Campbell said, it's going to be even harder to get it back to the NFC Championship this year. But they were able to keep Ben Johnson, able to keep Aaron Glenn. And as long as they can hopefully upgrade this defense or just upgrade this team in general, it's going to give them a good shot to get back to the Super Bowl. And I think this would be a big piece to what they're trying to do. Staying on the defensive side, Danielle Hunter is the top edge rusher in free agency after Brian Burns and Josh Allen were both tagged. And I think there is somewhat of an open door for him to go back to Minnesota, but they've been working on a contract for a few years now, and it just has not happened. So I don't think he heads back to Minnesota, even though the door is still open. But I think other teams that are going to make a play, Baltimore is one team, and even Jacksonville if they don't bring back Josh Allen, and many other teams that also need edge rush help. But the team I think he's going to sign with is the Chicago Bears. I know it sounds crazy. He's going to stay in the NFC North and pair up next to Montez Sweat, and that would be one heck of a edge rush tandem, and it would be huge for them to hopefully make the playoffs next year, as I would assume they draft Caleb Williams, and I would also give him another opportunity, another route to go with that first or their second first round pick, as they can focus that more on the offensive side of the ball instead of the defensive side of the ball. But It's going to be very interesting, but I think Danielle Hunter in the Chicago Bears makes a ton of sense. Heading to the running back position, Saquon Barkley will be a free agent as the New York Giants did not franchise tag him, and so far they have not re-signed him, and I don't think that's going to happen, though. There's definitely a possibility for them to come to a deal as Saquon has spent his whole career in New York, but other teams that I think could make a play is Houston, Dallas, Philadelphia. So he could be staying in division here. He could go to like the Ravens or some other team that definitely loves to run the ball. But I have him going to the Houston Texans. There have been rumors of him linking up with CJ Stroud, and I think that would be a great pair up as you get a dynamic running back in the running game, but also the passing game, and would be an upgrade from Devin Singletary and Dameon Pierce. And also would upgrade their running game to help this offensive game or offense explode even more. Pretty much help their passing game get even better, and they wouldn't have to necessarily spend or use high capital on a better receiver or like a top end receiver, when you can just go ahead and upgrade the running game, which would be absolutely huge for the Houston Texans. The other top running back is Josh Jacobs, and unlike Saquon Barkley, I think he heads back to Las Vegas. I think that's where he's going to fit in the best. He's obviously been there. He knows the system more, and I think he's going to I think he loves Antonio Pierce. I think Antonio Pierce loves him. This is definitely better than Josh McDaniels, and I think him staying in Las Vegas would make a ton of sense for the Raiders, as they depended on him a lot these past few seasons. Obviously, he would get his money. The best offensive lineman in free agency is Tyron Smith, and he'll finally be hitting the open market, as the Cowboys have not re-signed him yet, and he looks like he'll be moving on from Dallas. Again, still always a possibility that he comes back, because he's obviously been in Dallas for a very long time and a future Hall of Famer, but they haven't been able to win anything of significance with him. So I think he wants to go ahead and win now, and hopefully win a Super Bowl while also making his money, and there's plenty of teams that fit the bill there for Tyron Smith. The Rams make a ton of sense. The Bengals make a ton of sense. You could throw in Washington. He doesn't fit that. They don't fit the criteria. But Dan Quinn, there's a connection. Though I think it's unlikely. You could throw it out there. You really could. And Kansas City, again, could make a ton of sense. Maybe you have to slide it to... Well, no, Orlando Brown's on the right side, so he would be able to stay on the left side and protect Patrick Mahomes and try to go ahead and get his ring. Or he could head to the New York Jets, where I project him to go. They have some money that they can give him. They need offensive tackle help. I still think they would, do something in the draft, but definitely getting an offensive tackle would be huge for the Jets. And then obviously he would get to protect one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL and in NFL history in Aaron Rodgers. Let's talk about Bryce Huff, New York Jets edge rusher, and he's I would say the second best edge rusher in free agency. He's going to be a little younger than Danielle Hunter, and he had a heck of the last 2 seasons, but I don't think he heads back to New York, as I think they have a abundance of edge rushers on that team. And I think Washington's going to go ahead and make a move here. I think they're going to be looking for free agency to address the edge position. They could also win the draft, but you're going to go ahead and get Bryce Huff here, who could make anywhere from like $9 to $16 million. I know that's a big gap, but it really depends on what his market's going to be. But I think Washington makes a ton of sense, as they have the money to overpay him, and I feel like that's not the right word, but honestly just outbid other teams and go ahead and get a really good player at a premium position on the defense after they just traded Chase Young and Montez Sweat. And I think this would be a great addition to Dan Quinn's defense. And that's where I have all the top free agents going. If you want to see a part 2, go ahead, leave a comment, and tell me which players you want me to predict. And go ahead and leave a like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.